SAP in MuleSoft. Now we are focusing on SAP. SAP SE is a German multinational software company based in Waldorf, Baden-Württemberg. It develops enterprise software to manage business operations and customer relations. The company is the world's leading enterprise resource planning software vendor. SAP is the largest non-American software company by revenue, the world's third largest publicly traded software company by revenue, and the second largest German company by market capitalization. Apart from ERP software, the company also sells database software and technology, particularly its own brands, cloud engineered systems, and other ERP software products such as human capital management, HCM software, customer relationship management, CRM software, also known as customer experience, enterprise performance management, EPM software, products lifecycle management, PLM software, supplier relationship management, SRM software, supply chain management, SCM software, business technology platform, BTP software, and programming environment, SAP app Giver for business. Here you can see SAP integration made easy with MuleSoft accelerator for SAP. SAP is one of the most commonly used enterprise resource planning ERP solutions today. However, SAP integration is a major challenge facing organizations looking to digitize business process. For example, procure to pay process. Innovation as both new digital demands for organizations today. Consumers and employees alike are looking for connected experiences no matter the interaction. This has put increasing pressure on organizations to meet the digital imperative. The truth is that most digital transformation efforts fail in today's all digital work from anywhere environment. In reality, integration problems halt or details in 85% of the digital transformations. The organization lack of alignment between their SAP and non-SAP applications like Salesforce.com. They struggle to automate and optimize their business process. The cornerstone for the agile and efficient company is a connection agile as IT landscape, and ERP integration is critical to achieve this. Here you can see the SAP ECC. SAP ECC objects supported accounts, billing, documents, orders, products availability, and SAP ECC is connected to the use case 1 here. SAP and Salesforce integration. Here SAP S4 HANA, SAP S4 HANA object supported accounts, billing documents, orders, product availability, product sales contracts here, and it interacts with the SAP and Salesforce integration, and SAP and Salesforce integration interact with the Salesforce here. Salesforce object supported accounts, contacts, product availability. Here the use case 2 streamline procure to pay. Here the SAP HANA object supported and it interacts with the use case 2 new. Here the streamline procure to pay, and it's interact with the COPA, and the COPA object supported goods, receipts, invoices, suppliers, purchase orders, invoices, payments. Here you can see a Mule ESB, one of the most as one of the most widely used enterprise resource planning solutions on the market. SAP plays a central role in the most critical business processes for many companies. In order to fully automate and optimize this business process, companies need to integrate SAP with other applications within their organization. Here we are considering a SAP integration with other applications like Salesforce, EPOS, e-commerce, SharePoint. Here the SAP here. including users and benefits, challenges, and new approaches. An alternative approach to point-to-point quick fixes and expensive SOA stacks is integrate SAP using Enterprise Service Bus. ESB provide a modern and lightweight standalone solution for integrating SAP with other applications, including SaaS solutions like Salesforce, EPOS, e-commerce, SharePoint, etc. Mule ESB is the only enterprise service bus to be certified by SAP for SAP integration. Mule's SAP Enterprise Connector provides bidirectional communication and works with the existing SAP technology such as intermediate documents, iDocs, business application programming interfaces, BABPIs, SAP Java Connector, CEO. CoreForge had proposed that and designed the service-oriented architecture SOA for developing interface services that would enable different functionalities as reusable services. CoreForge integrated SAP with other applications using a low-cost enterprise service bus ESB to address all the business drivers. Here you can see cloud interacts with the Mule ESB. Mule ESB interacts with the SAP application here. Here you can see high-level architecture to integrate SAP using Mule Enterprise ESB. Here you can see a system 1 and system N interacts with the system server. System server interacts with the Mule ESB via here the HTTPS or SOAP. And here the business services and technical services and framework components are in Mule ESB. Business services are in business services. Here the technical services are in technical services here. Audit service, JDBC adapter, MC agent, SAP adapter, alert handlers, file adapter, and ActiveMQ adapters are in framework component. Here the Mule ESB interacts with the ActiveMQ via TCP or failover. Here the Mule ESB interacts with the file system via file IO. Here the files are in file system. Here the Mule ESB interacts with the SOA audit TDL and SOA here via JDBC. Here the Mule ESB interacts with this SAP system via HTTPS and SOAP. As an example, we can consider this XML for sending iDoc and sending an iDoc to SAP. Paste this code into the new Mule app in Studio to quickly load the flow for the sending an iDoc example. Change the values to reflect your environment. SAP connector 5.6 here, 6 Mule 4 here. The AnyPoint connector for SAP connector enables the integration for data and to and from external systems based on SAP NetWeaver. As an example too, we can consider this: add the connector to your Mule project. Add SAP connector to your Mule project to automatically populate XML code with the connector's namespace and schema location, and to add required dependencies to the project's pom.xml file. Adding a connector to a Mule project in Studio does not make the connector available to other projects in your Studio workspace. These are the steps. Step 1, in the Mule palette view, click search in the Exchange. Step 2, in the add dependencies to the project window, type SAP in the search field. Step 3, click SAP connector in available modules. Step 4, click add. Step 5, click finish. Now we are considering, before you begin, here the in SAP Concur Connector 4.2. To use this information, you should be familiar with SAP Concur, Mule Anypoint connectors, Anypoint Studio, Mule concepts, elements in the Mule flow, and global element. You need to log credentials to test your connection to your target resource. For software development, software requirements, and compatibility information, see connector release notes. Here you can see POM file information in SAP Concur Connector 4.2 Mule 4. Replace x.y.z with the version that corresponds to the Concur connector you are using. To obtain the most up-to-date pom.xml file information, access the connector in Anypoint Exchange and click dependency snippets. Here you can see the Connect in Design Center, SAP Concur Connector 4.2. Here the one click the trigger, click a trigger, and you can create global element by selecting reusable configurations. If a global element is not needed, you can use the HTTP listener or scheduled trigger. And to create HTTP global element for the connector, set these fields here. Field here the fields here, HTTP listener configuration here. Here the field description, here the protocol selected for the HTTP endpoint. It can be HTTP or HTTPS secure. Host, the IP address where your Mule application listeners listen for requests. Port address where your Mule application listen for the request, and base path where your Mule application listen for requests. And select plus sign to add the component. Select the connector as a component and select an operation. Then configure the global element for the connector. And here the host, they enter the host name of the Concur connector. Port, enter the port on which the Concur connector is running, and default value is 443. Base path, path where your Mule application listen for request, and protocol, here the protocol selected for the HTTP endpoint. It can be HTTP or HTTPS secure. Authorization, authentication. Authorization, Concur access the token. And the to create the access token for your Concur instance, specify HTTPS : www.concurSolutions.com :/net2/auth2 access token.ashx. In Postman, using get method to create an access token is deprecated. Instead use one of these following authentication methods to create access token: authorization grant, or password grant, client credential grant, one-time password grant. After obtaining the access token for your Concur instance, use that access token in the configuration for SAP Concur connector. Following screenshots of connector. Now we are considering about Concur API availability in SAP Concur Connector 4.2 Mule 4. Review SAP Connector Concur reference for supported API. Now we are considering add the connector using Exchange in add connector to a studio project in SAP Concur Connector 4.2. In the studio, create a Mule application, Mule project. Click the Exchange icon X in the upper left corner of the studio taskbar. In the exchange, click login and supply your anypoint platform username and password. In exchange, search for Concur. Select the connector and click add to project and follow the prompts to install the connector. Now we are considering retrieve a list of list in example use case in SAP Concur Connector 4.2 Mule 4. After creating a new project and Concur global element, add the new flow element by dragging it from the palette and give a name to the flow such as get list. Drag and HTTP listener into a flow from the palette, and then double click on HTTP listener and click the green plus sign next to the connector configuration drop down and set the host to the local host and the port to 8081. Click OK and close the properties window. Then enter the get list as the value in the path field in this HTTP listener basic settings section, and add the Concur connector to the new flow and select the get list of the list operation. After selecting Concur configuration to you desire, finally add the transform message transform to the flow, and for your reference you may check the particular get list with flow within the example XML code further down. Now we are considering common use cases for the connector in SAP Connector 5.9 in Mule 4. Common use cases for SAP Connector include unified view of enterprise resources, enable real-time integration of digital information across your business from the financial, accounting, material management, sales and distributing, and customer service to make data-driven decisions that optimize core business process. Data synchronization, sync SAP data with your business applications such as Salesforce, Workday, Marketo. For example, you can migrate a large set of accounts from SAP to Salesforce or broadcast changes in the organization from SAP to Workday in real time. Sales order automation, automate sales order processing between SAP ERP and CRM such as Salesforce. BAPI support, discover BAPI and query BAPI RFM enabled functions modules, so execute BAPI's functions. IDOC integration, send and receive IDOCs from SAP, import IDOCs or transform SAP objects to and from XML. Now we are considering upgrade steps in upgrading and migrating to SAP Connector 5.x Mule 4 in SAP Connector 5.9 Mule 4. Follow these steps to upgrade. Anypoint Story, create a Mule project. In a Mule palette view, click search in Exchange, and in add dependencies to the project, enter the SAP in search field, and in advanced available modules, select SAP Connector Mule 4 and click add. In click finish, and 6 verify that the SAP Connector dependency version 5.x in the pom.xml file in the Mule project, where x.x is minor release and patch version number. For example, if you are upgrading to version v5.2 and the dependency version in the pom.xml file should be 5.2.0. Now we are considering SAP Connector 5.9 terminology Mule 4 in SAP Connector 4.9 Mule 4. ABAP Advanced Business Application Programming, SAP proprietary programming language and part of the NetWeaver platform for building business applications. Now we are considering configure the libraries in the Anypoint Studio. In SAP Connector 5.9 Mule 5.9 Studio configuration Mule 4 in SAP Connector 5.9 Mule 4. After installing SAP Connector in Studio and adding the connector to your Mule project, configure the libraries. Double click on the connector in the flow. Then click plus sign on the right of the connector configuration field. This screen appears. Now we are considering configure general settings in additional in SAP Connector 5.9 additional configuration Mule 4 in SAP Connector 5.9 Mule 4. At the bottom of the canvas, click global elements, then click create, then expand the connector configuration, select either SAP inbound or SAP outbound and click OK. In the click the advanced tab at the top of the global element property screen, and in the general screen set the max idle time parameter. Now we are considering link the SAP certificate to a certificate. In configure the SAP server, in configure the SAP secure communication connection with the certificate. In SAP connector 5.9 MuleSoft, download the SAP instance certificate and click it to link it to a certificate. Click the glasses icon, first icon on the left of the screen to enable the edition mode, and then double click CN equal SL above IDP. Click the download button on the bottom of the screen and enter the target path for the download. Click the import icon and enter the target path to the upload your certificate, and click the add certificate list and click the save icon. Open the command line interface or terminal window and use the SAP Gen PSC tool to link your certificate to your PSC. SAP Gen PSC maintain pk -v -a. Here the name of SAP server certificate.crt -p and name of your PSC.psc. Now we are considering configure your SAP connector. In configuring SAP secure network communication connection with Kerberos in SAP connector 5.9 in MuleSoft. To configure SAP connector, enable SNC in Kerberos. Access Anypoint Studio, select SAP in the Studio canvas. Click the plus sign next to the connector configuration field to access the global element configuration fields. Configure the Kerberos connection. In the connection field, select Kerberos, and in the general tab, configure this field: SAP system number, SAP client ID, application server host, Kerberos config file path to the krb5.config conf file using KDC address and main ream information, sso domain.lab. Key tab file path to the key tab for the SPN from Active Directory. Key tab must contain the only the entry of the principal SID ADM. If you use the existing key tab, you must remove the existing entry first. To remove the existing entry, run the following command: ktutil -k etc. to create, and you can use the ktutil command to create a key tab. Also GSS lib path static value for /usr /lib64 /lib gss api _curb5.so.2.2 when using Cloud Hub principal service username for Active Directory. In this example, SID ADM. Client SNC partner name. SPN name for Active Directory. In this example, p:/SAP service /SAPDEV at sso domain.lab. Client SNC my name service username from Active Directory. In this example, p:/SID admin SID ADM. In the advanced tab, you do not need to change the extended properties because the Kerberos configuration already set them. Now we are considering add a namespace for the connector. In SAP connector 5.9 MuleSoft and SAP connector 5.9 XML and Maven support. Paste the following code in Mule in the Mule tag of the header of your configuration XML. In this example shows how the namespace statements are placed in the Mule XML box. Now we are considering at the POM file dependency in SAP Connector 5.9 XML and Maven support in Mule 4. SAP Connector 5.9 in Mule 4. For JCO library support, the Apache Maven pom.xml file generated by Anypoint Studio contains dependencies for Mule app. If you code a Mule app manually, include this XML snippet in your pom.xml file to enable access to this connector. Replace XXX with the version that you correspond to the connector you are using. For JCO library support, add these dependencies. To obtain the most up-to-date pom.xml file information, go to Anypoint Exchange. Then in Exchange, click Login and supply your Anypoint platform username and password. In the Exchange, search for SAP and select Connector and click Dependency Snippets near to the upper right of the screen. Now we are considering add the transform message component. In SAP Connector 5.9 example, in SAP Connector 5.9 Mule 4, configure the transform message component to convert IDOC input to XML. From the Mule palette view, select core and drag the transform message component next to the listener. After the metadata is retrieved, overlay the text of the output section of the transform message component with the following text. Now we are considering enable verbose exception logging in troubleshooting SAP Connector 5.9 in SAP Connector 5.9 Mule 4. Enable verbose exception logs to show the complete stack tracing of the error instead of the default truncated output. In Studio, right click on the project and select run configuration. Go to the arguments tab and append the arguments in the VM argument section to add the Mule verbose.exception property, for example here. Now we are considering the configuration in SAP Connector 5.9 reference Mule 4 in SAP Connector 5.9 Mule 4. Here the configuration, the name type string and name for this configuration. Connectors reference the configuration with this name. Default no default value required. Now we are considering common use case for connector in top SAP S4 HANA OData connector 2.6 Mule 4. Platform CRUD operations on entry types of SAP S4 HANA's OData API and process the response. Now we are considering 2.6 in what's changed in upgrading and migrating SAP S4 HANA OData connector to S2.x Mule 4 in top SAP HANA OData connector. To support the custom namespaces and connector now includes the new scope service discovery relative to path and services attribute fields in the connection types and new service attribute types. Now we are considering configure a global element in using Anypoint Studio to configure SAP S4 HANA OData connector in using Anypoint Studio to configure SAP S4 HANA OData connector 2.6 Mule 4. In your to use the global element properties configuration dialog to configure the global element for SAP element SAP S4 HANA or data connector. In your project, click Global Elements tab at the base of the canvas. In the global elements, in the global configuration elements screen, click Create. In the choose global element type wizard, expand connector configuration, select SAP S4 HANA config and click OK. Configure the following values in the general tab. In the connection drop down menu, select the connection type, basic authentication. For basic authentication, enter the following required field: service base URL, the URL of the SAP S4 HANA instance you want to manage, username, the username used to initialize the session, password authenticates the user, OAuth application connection provider, and further click the advanced tab in the configuration window and configure the following values: time zone, batch buffer size, buffer unit, response timeout, response timeout unit, and click OK and save the global connector configuration. Now we are considering add the reference namespace statement for the connector. In SAP HANA, SAP S4 HANA or data connector, in SAP S4 HANA or data connector 2.6 in MuleSoft. Paste the following code inside the mule tag of the header of your configuration XML. In this example shows how the namespace statements are placed in XML. Here you can see an XML code for an example. SAP S4 HANA or data connector 2.6 example MuleSoft in MuleSoft, and in SAP S4 HANA or data connect 2.6. Now we are considering create a batch operation in SAP S4 HANA or data connector 2.6 batch operations MuleSoft in SAP S4 HANA or data connector 2.6 MuleSoft. Place the initiate batch operation in the MuleSoft which returns the unique batch identifier. This unique batch identifier must be stored, for example, in the flow variable, so that it can be used to group the batch data operations under command batch request. Use the create change set operation to create a new change set. This operation returns the unique change set identifier which you then use in the batch create, batch update, delete entry, or batch execute function operations to add them in the change set. 3. When you complete the batch, use the batch execute batch operation and send to the batch request. The batch create entry, batch get entry, batch query, and batch execution function operations returns JSON result. However, the result of these operations cannot be read until the execution batch operation is executed. If you attempt to read the result before the execution batch operation is executed, the connector throws an exception. You can store the output of these operations, for instance, into a flow variable and access the output after the batch operation executed. After execute batch operation successfully executed, the summary is returned, which contains the basic information about outcome of every batch operation that was included as part of the batch operation. The detailed results of these batch operations are then available to read. Now we are considering SAP S4 HANA or data connector 2.6 reference MuleSoft in SAP S4 HANA or data connector 2.6 MuleSoft. Then here the name, the type is string, and the name for this configuration, connectors reference to the configuration with this name. Now we are considering common use cases for the connector in SAP S4 HANA's SOAP connector 2.5 MuleSoft. send XML request to S4 SAP S4 HANA's SOAP API and print the response. Now we are considering upgrade steps in updating and migrating SAP SO4 HANA SOAP connector 2.x Mule4 in SAP SO4 HANA SOAP connector 2.5 Mule4. Follow these steps to perform an upgrade. In the Endpoint Studio, create a Mule project. In the Endpoint palette, create click search in the Exchange. Add dependencies to project. Enter SAP S4 HANA SOAP in the search field. And in available modules, select SAP S4 HANA SOAP connector and click add. Click finish. Verify that the Mule SAP S4 HANA SOAP Cloud Connector dependency version is the one you are upgrading to the pom.xml file in the Mule project. Now we are considering configure the SAP S4 HANA SOAP config in using Endpoint Studio to configure SAP S4 HANA SOAP connector 2.5 Mule4 in SAP S4 HANA SOAP connector 2.5 Mule4. When you configure a connector, it is best to configure the global element that can be used by all instances of that connector in the app. Configuring a global element requires you to provide authentication credentials. Use connector users to access the target SAP S4 HANA system. SAP S4 HANA connector supports both basic authentication and OAuth 2.0 client credentials authentication. To configure the global element for SAP S4 HANA SOAP connector, follow these steps. In the project, click the global element tab at the base of the canvas. In the global configuration elements screen, click create. In the choose global type wizard, expand connector configuration, select SAP S4 HANA SOAP config and click OK. In the general tab, select connection authentication for the connection drop down. Enter the required information for the selected connection type and click OK. Click test connection to ensure that the access credentials are correct. Click the addressing tab to configure the following values. The version and from. Click the advanced tab to the configure the following values. Discovery service enable, discovery service path, discovery service directory, unlisted services, service discovery resolution timeout, service discovery timeout, default headers, default query parameters, TLS configuration, proxy configuration, and click OK and to save the global connector configuration. Now we are considering add the namespace for the connector in SAP S4 HANA SOAP connector 2.5 XML and Maven support Mule4. Add SAP S4 HANA SOAP connector 2.5 Mule4. Paste the following code inside the Mule tag of your header of your configuration XML. This example shows how the namespace statements are placed in the XML. Here you can see an XML code for an example in SAP S4 HANA SOAP connector 2.5 examples. In SAP S4 HANA SOAP connector 2.5. Now here we are considering add and configure a listener. In web services addressing an example Mule4 in SAP HANA SOAP connector 2.5 Mule4. In the palette, click in the Mule palette, click in Mule palette view, click HTTP and select listener. Drag the listener operation into the canvas. In the listener configuration, click Click plus next to the connector configuration to add the global element, accept the default, and set the path to the /WSA. Now we are considering config in SAP S4 HANA SOAP connector 2.5 reference MuleSoft in SAP S4 HANA SOAP connector 2.5. Here is a parameter name and the type string. The name for this configuration, connectors reference for the configuration with this name. Now we are considering common use cases for the connector in SAP SuccessFactors connector 4.1 MuleSoft. Some kind of common use cases for SuccessFactors connector include creating and deleting entries in SuccessFactors, retrieving an entity by ID, and performing queries over entities of the specified type. Now we are considering upgrade steps in connector to version 4.0 MuleSoft in upgrading and migrating SAP SuccessFactors in SAP SuccessFactors connector 4.1 in MuleSoft. In Endpoint Studio, create a Mule project, then Mule. In the Mule palette view, click search in the exchange. In add dependencies to project, enter the SuccessFactors in the search field. In available modules, select SuccessFactors and click add, and then click finish and verify SAP SuccessFactors connector dependency version 4.0.0 in the pom.xml file in the Mule project. Studio updates the connector automatically. Here the configure a global element for the connector. In using Endpoint Studio to configure SAP SuccessFactors connector 4.1 in Mule for SAP SuccessFactors connector 4.1 MuleSoft. When you configure a connector, it's best to configure a global element that all instances of that connector in the app can use. Configuring a global element requires you to provide the authentication credentials that connector requires to access the SAP SuccessFactors system. SuccessFactors connector supports the basic and OAuth 2.0 authentication method. To configure the global connection of SuccessFactors connector, follow these steps. Select the operation in the Studio canvas. In the configuration screen for the operation, click the plus sign next to the connector configuration field to success global element configuration fields. On the General tab, connection in connection, select authentication method configure basic or authentication. You can reference the configuration file contains anti-style property placeholders recommended, and you can enter the authentication credentials in the global configuration properties. On the advanced tab, optionally specify the reconnection information including reconnection strategy, and click test connection to confirm Mule can connect with the specified server, and click OK. Now we are considering use a query as a filter in SAP SuccessFactors 4.1 additional configuration information MuleSoft in SAP SuccessFactors connector 4.1. To configure the query operation to perform queries over entities of a specified type, follow these steps. Select query operation on the canvas. In the general properties tab, select query value for the filter drop down. In the value field, enter the following operations using the format described in OData URI convention sites item 4.5. Select the entity set name in the list. Following some example queries here. Start with username Mule eq true, and start with Mule username ja eq true, or start with username n3 eq true, username eq mic. The Mule value is only used to filter field. The actual query is built by the connector. Now we are considering add the namespace for the connector in SAP SuccessFactors connector 4.1 for XML and Maven support in SAP SuccessFactors for connector 4.1 MuleSoft. Paste the following code inside the Mule tag of the header of your configuration XML. This example shows how the Mule statement are placed in the Mule XML block. Here an XML for creating a query. in SAP SuccessFactors Connector 4.1, in SAP SuccessFactors Connector 4.1, Mule 4. This is a XML for query operation flow. Now we are considering default configuration in SAP SuccessFactors 4.1 reference Mule 4 in SAP SuccessFactors Connector 4.1 Mule 4. This is the proper parameter name. Type is string. The name for this configuration. Connectors reference the configuration with this name. Now we are considering SAP S4 HANA setup guide in setup guide. The configuration in S HANA. In S4 HANA in SAP S4 HANA setup guide in prerequest in consumer goods in cloud information model in accelerators. To make the necessary configuration in S4 S/HANA, create a communication system with the system in the responding Fiori app. This is communication system represent the external system that will consume S/HANA consume this S4 HANA cloud SOAP service. In this example, it's named com_000_9_SOAP_out. For the business system name, for the business system name, use the name of the system ID in the hostname field. Enter the name of the hostname and of the Mule application deployed in the Cloud Hub. If you don't have yet, you can either enter the mock URL and then modify it later. Create a user that will be used to connect the Cloud Hub app using for sending product information in the cloud outbound scenario. This is necessary even though the Mule application does not validate the user. We used any user for cloud outbound. Use the communication management Ferrari app to create a new communication arrangement. Create a new communication arrangement. Select the communication scenario SAP com009 and then define a specific name for the arrangement SAP com0009 SOAP. The communication system field. Select the communication system created in the previous step. In the outbound communication, select previously created user and configure the product master dash replicate from the SAP S4 HANA cloud to client and include the following settings in the to make to note the path /SAP /BC /SRT /SCS /SAP /product MDM bulk replacement bulk replicator request, because that will use this path to configure the Mule application SOAP endpoint. Set the service status to active and replication model anytime. Replication model 1 equal I initial. The output model equal D direct. And save it. All configuration S4 HANA cloud side are finished, and you will be able to download the WSDL that contains the metadata to import into the S4 HANA cloud SOAP connector into the Mule application. Now we are considering creating data elements in SAP S4 HANA setup guide in BAPI custom object in prerequest in retail in cloud information model and in accelerators. Here you can see the object and how to create. Now we are considering connections in cloud connector reference, SAP S4 HANA cloud connector reference in composer connector reference in composer, connection display name here. The enter the connection display name. That will help you to remember the details of this connection. You can reuse the connection multiple times in the single flow in more in more than one flow, and the credentials are hidden after you create the connection. Therefore, it is helpful to provide a name that is easily identify this connection from others. Only you can see the connection. Other users in the Composer app must create their own connections. Now we are considering communication arrangement in SAP S/4HANA setup guide for sales rebate management in pre-request in manufacturing in accelerators. Here you can see the communication arrangement SAP _ com _ 0002 service name journey entry dash post synchronous and protocol SOAP. Now we are considering from studio in configuration in testing SAP in examples in unit. In the studio environment, add the SAP libraries to the class path, navigate to the build path, then configure build path, then in libraries tab, click add library button and select endpoint connectors dependencies and select the SAP connector option. This process is also described in the SAP connector documentation in the SAP documentation. You may also need to make java.library.path point to the folder where the navigation native libraries are located. The Immunity Studio plugin will try to find the these native libraries and configure them automatically when you try to run your test. In case they are not found, you need to add the following VM argument to the run configuration. In Studio top navigation bar, click run. Click the run configuration, then click the arguments tab. In the VM arguments dialog box, type the path of your libraries with the java.library.path argument. For example, the -d the java.library.path equal path /2/lib. Now we are considering SAP JCO SAP JCO extended properties in Mule runtime. You can configure any JCO any SAP connection properties to the SAP and then use them on the connector or endpoint. Some of these properties can be configured at the connector or at or endpoint level with the specified attribute mule dash config.xml file. The keys for these properties should be in the name same as JCO libraries expect, and so you can check the SAP client properties and SAP server properties. You can use these properties in the connector or endpoint by referencing the map with the attribute JCO client extended properties -ref. You can note important the values configured in this way should be passed directly to the JCO libraries without transformation. For example, Boolean values must be represented by the string 0 for false and 1 for true. The properties defined at the connector or endpoint level will override these values in the properties map. Also the properties configured at the endpoint will override the ones from the connector. As an example, we can as an exception example, we can consider this one, the timeout exception. This timeout exception happened inside the jcore library, SAP : timeout here. Here we can consider as an error example, we can consider this one, missing JCO native library. Here you can see java.lang.exception initialize error. This is a JCO initialization fail with java.lang.unsatisfied link error colon no SAP JCO in java library.path here, and you can see here the test failed, connection failed, error tying to test connection, report this incident, reason java.lang.exception initialize error, JCO initialization fail with java.lang. Unsatisfied link error, no SAP JCO 3 in java.library.path here.